taking a look at the Eastern Conference standings, the Miami Heat sitting atop those 2 games ahead of the Philadelphia 76ers. You each have said that you don't put too much stock into a head-to-head matchup because each are short-staffed. Both the Heat with an injury report that was long enough to make each of you giggle ahead of the game, but also no James Harden for the Sixers as he's scheduled injury maintenance in this one. Joel Embiid leading the way with 22. Tyrese Maxey adding 17 for the Sixers with Tobias Harris and 16, but it's still a 12-point deficit at this point behind a very balanced scoring effort from the Heat.
Yeah, and you can see this coming. Without James Harden, they were going to struggle a little bit. Joel not having his best stuff tonight either. He's 4 of 15 from the floor. And
97-80, the Heat lead at this point as they start to pull away from the Sixers and continue chanting to extend their lead atop the Eastern Conference. This surprising to you in any way?
This game, well, I wouldn't say it's surprising. I would just say that this is Miami Heat basketball. Keeping this team to 80 points without James Harden or not is wild to me in this day and age. So, let's say James Harden does come back. Let's say he gets 20, right? And this game is still going. Stylistically, the Miami Heat are going to be tough to beat in the playoffs. And we were looking at those standings. I cannot wait to see the Miami Heat play the Nets if that comes around. That's going to be a great series.
Yeah,
right?
What a great present for being the number 1 seed. You get Kevin Durant in the first round.
I was about to say, all season long, you do what it takes to lock down the very top of the Eastern Conference, and that's your gift?
Yeah.
But I think the Miami Heat are not afraid of that moment. And as you see, they put the clamps on Philly. They said, all this high-power offense, we're going to cut all that water. Victory.
I think, Channing, what I was asking before we watched those last final seconds, not just that you're surprised by this game, keeping the Sixers to 82 points, even without James Harden in the lineup, but surprised by the Heat as a whole with such a competitive Eastern Conference landscape this season that they've managed to remain consistently at the top.
Man, absolutely. And I think, again, we talk about, the Heat culture. We talk about the next man up. Everyone that's had an opportunity to play on that team in big minutes has taken advantage of their time. And they star in their role. And I know I say that a lot, but it's hard to be a guy who's 11, 12, not knowing if you're going to play, to go start, and then you be the greatest you on that opportunity. And the Miami Heat guys do that every single night. And, it's give credit to the Philadelphia 76ers. They tried, but on a back-to-back and coming into Miami is tough. But Miami, if you look at everyone that comes off the bench, they know where they're supposed to be. They're active. They went in that zone later in the end of the game. And they just absolutely put the 76ers offense on halt.
And we had to at least crack a smile ahead of the game looking at the potential injury report. So many guys that were questionable and so many that were also out that you said, well, who is it that's actually playing for the Heat? And then they end up with such a balanced scoring effort. Jimmy Butler, who was questionable to play, finishes with 21. Tyler Hero adds 21 as well. But then you get 16 and 14 from both Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin.
Yeah, and guys like Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, they were able to develop when so many of the Heat's regulars were out before. And so I give Eric Spoelstra a lot of credit. He switched that lineup earlier. He switched the style of play when they were missing certain guys. And so they now have the ability to play fast. They can play slow. They can do whatever you need to do. And, of course, we know they're going to play that winning brand of defense that the Miami Heat have made famous because that's a non-negotiable. There's a certain style of play and toughness that you have to have if you're going to be in that rotation. Spoelstra has these boys rolling.
It was, again, just scheduled injury maintenance for James Harden as to why he wasn't in the Sixers lineup in this one. But, Channing, what does it say when you look back on this Sixers team, again, without him in the lineup, about the ways in which that he's not only gotten his, but made these guys around him better?
Well, I think there's one big piece that's missing, and that's a point guard, like a true point guard. And James Harden is an elite MVP caliber point guard. And I think for me, coming off, when James isn't in the game, who's getting your guys easy shots, right? Are you dumping it down into the post and then, demanding a double team with Joel Embiid? Are you letting Tyrese Maxey go to work? How do you get into your offense? And, the Miami Heat are elite defensively. So this game is going to be, one of many that isn't going to really show up like that. But for me, the bench guys and the guys that are next man up have to start becoming playmakers and creators off of those double teams from Joel Embiid.
Again, 6 games on this Saturday in the NBA, 4 of them now with final scores, a couple of them still underway. The Warriors leading the...
That was the reason why they got him from Washington. I think they need another guy that's a ball handler, that's a creator. For me, like Brendan said, this team has been impressive. Last year they could score at will with Luka, and now with Jalen Brunson and Dorian Finney-Smith, his advancement as a viable 3-and-D guy in this league. He's put people on posters. They've got a lot of contributions from important guys, especially with Tim Hardaway out. And so getting Spencer, you want to see more of this, especially when Luka is out with a little toe hurts injury.
Then to Brendan's point, Channing, what are your expectations for this Mavs team moving forward? Or where are they at this point in the season relative to your initial expectations?
I mean, this is a very solid team. Just get out the first round, right? Like, get out the first round. I want to see you do that. Like, it's going to be hard, right? As much as we say the East is better than the West, the first 3 teams in the Western Conference, if they're healthy, is an absolute beast. So for me, if Dallas can beat that first round matchup and get to the second round, they got a puncher's chance of going to the Western Conference Finals.
All right, we've got a 6-game Saturday slate in the NBA and several others warming up. Joel Embiid, James Harden, the Sixers, sitting now second in the Eastern Conference, set to take on the team that's sitting at the top in Miami. Bam Adebayo, Tyler Hero, and the Heat are 8-2 over their last 10 games. Channing and I have talked a whole lot about what we have called the league's most potent 1-2 punch, at least in the last, 10 to 14 business days.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, Brendan, about Joel and James and what it is about their games that has brought out the best in each other.
I think with Joel and James Harden, they just fit together. Sometimes you see guys and they're 2 perimeter players and they sometimes have to play my turn, your turn basketball and learn how to make things fit. Kind of similar to what we see with Boston with Tatum and Brown. They were all trying to figure out this year, when is it my turn, when is it your turn? But when you have a true big man like Joel Embiid, who can get involved just by setting a screen for Harden. Harden can come off and shoot it. Then the next time he can hit Joel for a lob. The next time Joel can pop, he can hit him for a 3. There's so many different things that they can do. If you switch the screen, Joel can post up or Harden can take advantage of the big. There's so many different actions now that Doc Rivers can run that include both of his best players, and they play so well off of each other. This team is very scary. I like the win they got the other night against Cleveland. I call that a character win. That was the first time they played an upper echelon team. They were down 20 and came back. And so now they're fighting their way through it.
Yeah, the Sixers have been seemingly unstoppable since Harden's acquisition. Unfortunately, not going to be playing in this one Saturday night because of just scheduled injury management. But as we talk about the team as a whole, I've asked Channing several times when the honeymoon phase will perhaps be over. It doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. But let's talk a little bit about Bam and Tyler Hero. Is this guy the leader in the clubhouse for one certain award come award season?
Listen, the 6 Man of the Year award is wrapped up. They can already send that award.
Is it? Okay.
They can send it down to South Beach to Tyler Hero's residence. All other applicants need not apply. It is his award. He has won it. He has earned it. Quite frankly, I thought he deserved to possibly be an all-star this year with the way he had played. And so he comes off the bench. He gives him that pop. He is the definition of what a true 6-man looks like.
Other awards also to be named, MVP. And we're going to have that conversation because Channing, John Morant continues this tear. He's averaged 45 points over his last 3 games, but 40 over his last 5.
Channing going to say something wild for MVP. Channing always does. Channing going to go with a wild MVP.
No. Here's what I'll say.
Channing will be like, LeBron.
Last year, no. That's a hex to the no, right? So for me, John Morant has a puncher's chance of making this. And I think Steve Smith said this last night. If he can get to 2, then I think he has a chance. But it's going to be hard. He's having a great week, a great month, and a very, very good year. But it's hard to put him up there with Giannis, Embiid, and Jokic, who are absolutely dominant. But if I had $100 and I needed to pay for a seat I'm going to a Grizzlies game. It'll probably be an away game, but I'm going to a Grizzlies game to watch Ja Morant.
So you don't have $100? That's why he's.
Hey, life comes at you
Unless
fast.
I'm on a budget.
That's why he's working tonight.
On a Saturday.